Hi everyone, my name is McCrilly. I'm an artist and a chef, and I kind of like to say that I'm an artist working with food and a chef working with art, kind of straddling between both those fields. Growing up as a child, my passion was art and food, and now in later life both those things have combined into the one practice. Over time it became a way of involving two things, and then food is the predominant sort of feature of my work now.
Right everyone, first up we're going to go out the back here and look at a long established hedgerow that has been here from at least the 1800s or before. So to do that we're going to split into two groups, and Neil Folks over here, he's going to lead one group, so probably somewhere about there, go with Neil, and then John and myself will lead the other group.
There's one point I'd make just as we were coming across, that just a pure observation, that this bit of ground here under the hedge is much drier than out in the field, and it's down to the root system of the trees is improving the drainage. So there's one good thing about your hedges. The other thing is it doesn't feel as wet here as it did out in the field. It's dry, there's shelter here. So there's two values straight away. What you have to imagine is that this was here in the 1830s. It could have been here many years before that. What you have here is soil that's been undisturbed for 200, maybe 300 years, and that's very rare. In terms of the biodiversity values of things, we tend to look above the ground, but what's under the ground is really important. A hedge of itself doesn't generally self-sustain, because the plants grow up, they'll seed, and what the hedge wants to do, the plants in the hedge, they want to grow up, they want to seed, and they want to colonise either side to become woodland. They want to spread out. So you don't get that much natural regeneration within a hedge. The natural regeneration would be out to either side, where it tends to be either cut back or browsed back by animals. What we're doing here, everybody, is a thing called hedge laying. Those of you who were in my group before, I was talking about this idea of managing hedges on a cyclical basis, of letting them grow and then bringing them back down to square one, and then round again, and where you're keeping the plants in the hedge in a not a permanent juvenile state, but you never allow them to become too mature so that the hedge sort of gets away. The technique with hedge laying is you cut through the stem part way through, but you leave enough wood so that there's a hinge between the root and the top, that the sap can continue to travel up, so the bit that's laid across stays alive. And I'll just demonstrate that now with this nice little easy one. So that plant, that bit that's laid across, will continue to grow. And what I'll do then now is trim off the stump. So that bit there is effectively coppiced, and you'll get new growth sprouting from below that cut. That's the hedge, that's the long-term hedge. The bit that's laid across, I always call that's the hedge for today, and what comes from the base is the hedge for tomorrow. This will keep you going for the next 20 to 30 years. What comes off there, somebody will come back in 20, 30 years time and lay that and you'll start the whole process again.
This hedge was planted about 18 years ago, roughly, and anyone was in John's group I know anyway, and hopefully Neil talked about similar stuff. There was a lot of discussion around the biodiversity that grows in the bottom of the hedge and the amount of plants and number of plants and the different types of plants and stuff that grow there. If we look at this hedge, 18 years planted, relatively unmanaged for the last 18 years, we still have little to no flora in the bottom of the hedge. Nettles and some grasses, and that's really all we have. And the point there is we often swap old hedges out for new hedges, thinking we have done a like for like swap. They don't compare at all. They really don't. The diversity in old, long established hedges, these really never catch up in anybody's lifetime. Neil has showed you the process of laying, but we'll look at some of the benefits of why you would lay a hedge versus like a coppicing or whatever. You can see here, in its first few months, it has grown a crop of berries, which if you coppice that and took it all away, you won't have the berries. So we've still got a winter bird feed here. We've got a good tight stock barrier. Animals aren't going through that fence. And it also providing a lot of shelter.
These calves, these are the twins in here. Emma and Robin have them named. Emma, what are their names? Yes, Marshmallow and Mint Chocolate are the two heifer calves. Yeah. All I would ever have done with hedges would have been taking trees down for firewood over the years and maybe faced back a few briars and things. Peter told me about the art of hedge laying, that I had hedges suitable, and he says, would I be interested in going to a course to watch this happening? So we did. It's quite addictive. You know, you don't make a lot of progress in a day, but it's still quite rewarding because your hedge is down, and we didn't know whether, I didn't know whether things would grow or anything. I thought maybe this whole thing would die, but we see today how well it is done in just 10 months or so, 9 months or so. I'm very impressed and hope to finish some more now and keep at it.
The farmers were sort of open to hearing about art, and then the artists here were open to learning about farming. Do you know, and that's not something that's easy to achieve in my experience, do you know, so this atmosphere, I think particularly because it's taken course over, like, this is the 6th farm visit. Do you know, people have gotten to know each other, they've like developed sort of friendships, and you know, people know about what each other are doing, so I think that kind of sustained project sort of helped create this atmosphere where people are relaxed and they can be around each other and learn more about what each other does. Artists maybe sort of help communicate, you know, some of the challenges that farmers face to a wider audience, you know, because like a lot of galleries, not all galleries are in urban areas, but like a lot of them are, and then that is the audience there are people who are so disconnected from farming and from food production. So I think art, when it's brought to those places, helps inform a wider audience, helps them to reconnect with farming and where food comes from, and helps them maybe, you know, learn about the challenges that farmers face, you know, and the really complex decisions that they have to make in order to get food to people, you know. Yeah, so I think art sort of helps fill that gap. It can help open up conversations, you know.